Well, I'm glad you're all back. All of you guys are back. We got Noel, we got Alex, and we got Joe. I'm excited to have all of you guys on. Couple quick announcements before we get started. Again, I always say it, speaktruthwithoutfear.com. Put in your email. We have a podcast coming out tomorrow with Jorge Ventura. He's been on the border for the last week. He was there when Trump was – oh, yeah, incredible, which – what we talked about today, which I'm sure we'll talk about because we're going to talk about the border and how Kamala did not go to the border. But what he talked about in this podcast and what's really going on, like it's one thing that you hear, there's a crisis at the border, there's a crisis at the border. But when you are there and what he is telling me, I'm just like, this is another level. So I think I'm going to be going out there with him in about 2 weeks, which I'm really excited because I've been wanting to go. I just need to have someone to go with. So that's going to come out tomorrow. And then don't forget, we are doing a fundraiser right now for the Cusick family. The links are in my bio, the Speak Truth Without Fear bio. This family, if you have not heard, the father and the son was arrested on January 6th. They committed no violence, no vandalism, didn't even see any of it. They take it. The feds show up with AR-15s, arrested them both. He's a 30-year pastor. He was a 14-year vet, volunteered in the draft for the Vietnam War. I mean, he is such an incredible guy. I got to speak with him for about an hour, and they took his passport, took his guns. He's not allowed to travel. They deleted him off social media. He has no voice. They've completely destroyed and slandered this family's name, and it's really sad. So we have a fundraiser going. The retainers just for the lawyer alone is $45,000. So we're trying to raise money and bring awareness. If you can't give, at least share it. The link's in the bio. Definitely do that. That's all the announcements. All right, let's get into it. What's on your guys' minds? I mean, Alex, you've been posting. I just went through your Instagram a little bit ago, and I loved your rant on the athlete. But I saw your rant also on Kamala. So Kamala went to the border this past week.
No, she didn't. No, she did not. No, she did not.
Well, explain that for the guests so they know why she didn't. Oh, we lost Joe. Explain that. Why did she not go to the border?
Because she doesn't care. I mean, this is something that and this is something that I've talked about on your live before, how like a lot of people are like, oh, well, she needs to learn how to do her job, and she's border czar, and like she needs to tend to that. But the thing is that she's doing the job that she planned to do, is to not pay attention to the crisis. Because as we've seen with the policies that the Biden administration is putting in, they want this open border crisis. They want the influx of illegals to come in. They want what we're seeing, because that's going to bring in more voters for them in the long haul. And that's all that matters to them, is more Democrat voters, so they can kind of basically push in that socialist agenda in the future, which is what we don't want, and which is actually what a lot of these people are fleeing from, which ironic. Literally. So it's kind of crazy. But the thing is that, and I've said this in my video, where it's embarrassing to have a former president kind of push you to get down to the border and tend to your job, but it's even more embarrassing.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. So the tornado is getting pretty bad, so I'm gonna have to go and go into the basement. So I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Get safe. Get safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye. She's having.
Where is she?
She's in DC, and right when she
hopped. Wait a second.
Where are you in DC?
What tornado is she talking about?
Oh my
it's raining a lot. Like the rain just came out of nowhere. It's like, well, it didn't kind of nowhere, but like it started to pour, and we had like a lot of wind in the area earlier, but like tornado.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm in an apartment building on the 5th floor. I don't got no basement to go down to.
Well, I mean,
apparently people have to go to a safe space. What happened?
Hey, safe spaces are popular nowadays. They're
Oh
man.
my gosh.
But
No, okay.
finish your
Ron,
thought.
can you make sure that the weather that we don't get blown away while I'm doing this Instagram live? Oh my gosh. Okay,
Oh
that's
my
like
goodness.
really funny, but at the same time really concerning. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, but basically, it's embarrassing to have a former president kind of push you to go and do your job, but it's even more embarrassing to pretend to do your job or go down to the border or go down to the airport in the state of Texas or the border patrol station that's miles away from the actual physical border and the wall to actually go down there and sit on the tarmac and pretend like you actually saw something when you didn't, to pretend that you actually know what's going on when you don't. You know, and I've said this in my video as well, she is complicit along with the Biden administration, Biden and all of the Democrats, basically the entire Democratic Party. They are complicit in one of the largest human trafficking operations, which is happening down at our southern border. And until they pay attention to that, until they care about others like they say they do all the damn time, we're going to see a crisis continue to arise. And it's insane because these are children. And another thing that is so crazy, and I hate when the left does this, or, you know, they say that, well, you don't care about others because you don't want these immigrants coming into your country. Come into America. Like, please do, but do it the legal way. There are over 300 plus ports of entry, legal ports of entry into the country. By doing it illegally, by paying the cartel, you're funding the cartel to smuggle these children in, to human trafficking, drug smuggling, weapon smuggling. You are funding the cartel by doing this. And the thing is, the Democrat Party, instead of saying, no, please don't do that, and not like what Kamala did a couple weeks ago, where she's like, don't come, you know, besides doing that, like, no, you actually have to be like, listen, you cannot come across illegally. You cannot do it. It's putting yourself in danger. It's putting the children that you're trying to push across in danger. And it's putting Americans in danger. And if you care so much about people, then you'll put a stop to it.
It's so true. Joe, you got any thoughts on the border, Kamala?
I mean, where does one begin? What are we supposed to say, brother? The hard truth is that we're looking at an administration that is complicit in making drug cartels richer, an administration that is complicit in the raping and subjugation of the most vulnerable of the most vulnerable. If you understand implicitly that the people that come to our border, whether they're trying to cross illegally or not, do so because they are fleeing the worst of the worst. The people that President Trump called the rapists and the murderers.
We lost them. You're back.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah. So, like, look, if we understand implicitly that they are fleeing the worst of the worst, then we should also understand implicitly that these are the same individuals who should not be enriched. We're dealing with a crisis of astronomical proportions, right? You have the left that tries to say that somehow that President Trump was some type of kingpin. They want to believe that he was El Capo. They want to believe that he was actually a man who leached on a criminal syndicate onto the executive branch of the United States of America. Let's be very clear. To this day, as we sit here, not a single person last name Trump has been indicted. And yet somehow this morning I turned on my television and CNN was talking to the stepdaughter of the CFO of the Trump organization to try to somehow imply that the perp walk of somebody last name Trump was about to happen. I mean, at some point, here's what you have to say. I think we as conservatives get stuck on stupid because you have to say this. If Donald Trump is Al Capone, prove it. If the Trump is a crime syndicate that somehow found itself in the executive branch of the United States of America, then prove it. And all you have done for 5, 6 years is say that, oh, the end is soon to be, that the end of all things Donald Trump will be here tomorrow. Tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. It's always a day away. Let me tell you right now, implicitly and explicitly, if Donald Trump does not end up in an orange jumpsuit, then by the same standard that they hold Breitbart, by the same standard they try to hold Fox News, by the same standard they try to hold Newsmax, they are in fact the evil they claim that Republicans should see in the mirror. Because at the end,
so good.
What they have done is actually more damaging than all the damage they allege that Donald Trump has done to our democratic institutions. Put up or shut up. If he is actually a kingpin, you better show me. Because at the end of the day, what you guys have done to the nation, this sword of Damocles you've held over our heads, respectfully, you're wrong. It is actually evil, because all the leaks, all of the random things that you have somehow implied that haven't yet happened, it's damaging to this nation. It has.
Do you think that the average person that watches CNN, I mean, and again, I mean, there are studies for this, I guess, you know, because from November 3rd, the moment that Fox News called Arizona, like you just saw, the entire trust for the mainstream media just completely collapse on the right. I mean, we've seen Trump. I mean, that's one thing that Trump did so well over the last 4 years. He exposed the media for what they really are. They're not truth seekers. They're not trying to report the facts. They're literally out for clicks. We know that. We've really learned that. I mean, to the point, we remember Charlottesville, where they edited the clip to make it look like what he said. We remember what he said, all Mexican are rapists, and they edited that clip to make it look like that's what he said when he was literally talking about the MS-13, which are rapists. But that is what's happened over the last 4 years. But then November 3rd was very interesting, because the moment that Fox called Arizona and you just started seeing they wouldn't play his videos anymore. I mean, he had a press conference at the border this past week. No mainstream media played it. None. Not even Newsmax did. You're right. Newsmax did.
Newsmax and RSBN did.
America.
Yes.
Plug. But look, here's what I'm saying. There is a crisis of conscience, a crisis of confidence happening on the left. That's why you see the ratings down 7 for CNN in prime time. Look, to be very clear, there are amazing people that work in that building, that go to work every day to do a job, that feel like they're doing the Lord's work, that just want to make sure that people are informed. But as somebody who's been in that building, someone who's been at Fox, someone who is currently at Newsmax, I can tell you right now, like, there are powers beyond what you see, right? All the time. That's just the reality of the world in which we currently live. And so at the end of the day, as Americans, our responsibility is to say that, look, if you told me something was going to happen for 1 month, for 2 months, for 3 months, for 4 months, for 12 months, for 15 months, for 24 months, for 36 months, if it hasn't actually happened, at what point are you committing journalistic malpractice? If you're telling me that Donald Trump is a criminal, it's undeniable that he's a criminal. At what point, when he hasn't been put in jail, are we supposed to assume that you're just liars?
Yeah.
They're out here just trying to fill your bottom line. This is what we just have to deal with. So again, on some basic level, all of this, what's happening on the southern border, is inextricably linked to the random reports about, oh, Donald Trump is being investigated by the Manhattan District Attorney. Oh, just kidding, the Trump Organization is being investigated by the Manhattan District Attorney. Oh, just kidding, we're really just looking into the CFO of the Trump Organization, who has used his power to not report the fact that he got town cars and free flights and nanny service, which, by the way, happened at Fortune 500 companies. It's wrong. It's against the law. But most people don't get perk walk, and most people don't end up being the leading news story for 5 days straight, which is what's going to happen right now on major news organizations. So we just have to be able to synthesize a message and say, look, I'm not here to tell you whether Donald Trump is a criminal or not. I'm saying they told you he's a criminal and he hasn't been indicted. So if it's not,
well, and if they haven't figured out something by now, like it's a complete show. I literally feel like we're watching a freaking movie. They tried with impeachment #1. They tried with Russia. They tried with Mueller. They tried with impeachment #2, and everything is just a bunch of show. And I just don't, and again, and what we're talking about even with the border right now, when I watched this Kamala press conference, and a lady talks before her. She's like a local Democrat congressman in Texas, and
the new Ellis Island.
Like, yes.
Wait, I'm confused because Ellis Island was a legal point of entry. This is not a legal point. You have people who are literally crossing the border illegally. Over 210,000 people. To be clear, I tell you all the time, I'm from Yonkers, New York. Our population is 203,000 people. In 5 months of Joe Biden being president, more people have crossed the border illegally and evaded capture than the entire population of my hometown, which, by the way, has a budget of $1.5 billion here in New York State. It's the fourth, now about to be the third largest city in New York State. It's one of the 150 largest cities in the country. This is the type of scale that's happening. People act like it's no big deal. The Biden administration wants to act like it's no big deal. No. People are crossing our border illegally. There are financial obligations. There are moral obligations. There are sovereignty obligations that come with running this country. And these people don't give a damn about the fact that the one responsibility they have is to make sure that the Americans can sleep peacefully in their own home. And they have said, you know what? You're on your own because we want a borderless world. And that's not my opinion. That's what half of the people that stood on stage to be the standard bearer for the Democratic Party said when they ran for president in 2020. And if you don't,
Alex and Joe,
believe it, because it's coming to a town near you. And I don't know what else to tell you, but you know what? It's a Thursday, and I'm just the world's gone mad, man. It's crazy.
You guys are both dropping heat right now. You're just coming out. Go ahead, Alex.
It's crazy to me that this is what's so insane to me is that Trump continues to live in the Democrats' heads rent-free because they hate him so much that they would rather see children be trafficked across our southern border than to admit that Trump's policies were having a handle on the illegal immigration that was going on down on our southern border. His policies were not, it wasn't fixed. The situation down there wasn't fixed, but his policies were controlling what is now out of control. And they hate him so much that they would rather see children suffer. Though they care about children, right? Only the ones outside of the womb know, but they care about children so much that they would rather see them suffer because their hatred for Trump literally trumps everything else. And it's absolutely insane. And I don't know if you've also realized this, but the left is trying to make everything new. So the 6th, I'm not going to mention what happened on the 6th because I don't want to get this banned, but the 6th is now their new 9/11. And now the southern border is now their Ellis Island. Yep. What the hell? Come on. Yep. This is insane.
No, and that's that. Actually, that
right. The 6th, they want the 6th to be 9/11 so bad. Donald Trump to be Osama bin Laden. Mm-hmm. Here's the truth: the people who are dying in mass in this country, they are the people who are suffering under policies that have never worked in the history of the world, and the left are trying to resurrect from the dead. That is what's happening right now. So when you have individuals out here, Joe Biden goes down to Greenwood, Tulsa, to talk about one of the greatest travesties that ever occurred in the history of this nation. And he goes out here and says that white supremacy is the greatest threat to the homeland. Let's be very clear about the disconnect from reality this administration has. We, in 5 months, have watched Russia hack 45% of the fuel supply on the eastern seaboard. We have watched, in the first 5 months, Russia compromise 1/5 of the beef supply of this entire nation with cyber hacks. We have watched, even to be clear, people want to talk about January 6th. I've said this very time. The greatest failure of the Trump administration was the inability to recognize that there was an ongoing hack by Russia that compromised the Department of Homeland Security, the Pentagon, the Microsoft. They hacked the entire country, right? The nature of warfare has changed. Russia is not our friend. They are an abject enemy. And the people occupying 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue think that the greatest threat to the homeland is white supremacy. Meanwhile, we got a report today that said that China was actually, for the first time in a long time, actually making upgrades to nuclear silos. You better wake up, America, because I'm telling you right now, the people you've entrusted to run this White House on the premise that not being Trump is the key to a 21st century world will make sure that the world as we know it doesn't exist. Hell, the planet might not exist if these people don't take their head out of the sand and wake up to the fact that China and Russia are on a march to form a new triad, and not the nuclear triad, a new triad of doom, a new axis of evil that will change the world forever. And when they look at us, I promise you, all the black people from Black Lives Matter talking about, oh, we are melanated allies of Iran. They do not see melanated allies. They see Americans, and they want to destroy you. So take that for what it is.
It's crazy.
I'm telling you right now, you might want to live in this. We all live in the yellow submarine world, but we don't live in the yellow submarine world. We live in America. It is a beacon of freedom. It is a beacon of truth. And if you people don't recognize the benefits of being in America, and also the people that don't actually love and believe in what we have established generation after generation, this long arc that moves toward justice, then I promise you, all you're doing is opening up the door for people that mean to do you and your family harm, and they don't care whether you're black or brown or white. All they care about is ensuring that what we have established, truth, justice, bravery, solidarity, all the things that we sometimes get right and sometimes get wrong, no longer exist.
Man, hello. Joe, I love it. So, I mean, and
it's almost Friday.
It's almost Friday. I do see we might be having some connection issues. I don't know if it's the storms. I don't know if it's Instagram messing with us. It is what it is. But I mean, I know
FBI agents stalking us.
Seriously. Oh my gosh. I did have 2 agents show up at my house, by the way.
We don't care. It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying bad connection. I hope you guys can hear us. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay right now. If you can't, everyone's saying, where are you, Jordan? Not seeing connection issues. I keep getting the boot. What is
Problem is, I'm sure the conversation is fine. They just don't want people to see it. Because if you don't hear the truth, then did the truth ever actually happen? Then they can keep telling people that the Delta variant is the greatest threat to people.
Oh yeah. All right. So let's keep the convo going. I love it.
To remember when they told us that the sole purpose of the vaccine was not to make sure that no one ever got COVID again, but to make sure that when you did get it, it didn't die. Now all of a sudden, it's like, oh, the Delta variant is here, and vaccinated people should wear masks again. There are 2 questions that people should be asking right now. Question number 1, Does the Delta variant impact people who have the vaccine? Question number 2, if it does impact the people who have the vaccine, are they dying? If the answer to both of those questions is no, if the answer to question 1 is yes, and the answer to question 2 is no, then this doesn't even matter. The whole planet could get the Delta variant, but if are vaccinated and the vaccine is actually effective against the Delta variant, then this doesn't matter. But the fear-mongering, the people who said that all the right is filled with fear-mongering, no. The left-stream media has formed an unholy alliance with the left, and all they're doing is trying to scare people into staying in their homes for the sole purpose of trying to recreate what they did in 2020, because they recognize the fact that their ideas are not working, their policies are failing.
Well,
people can't even get milk.
I think I love it. I think the left is scared to death of Trump running in 2024. One, because I think which is good news. We're seeing all of these election integrity bills being pushed through. We're seeing it happen in Georgia. The Supreme Court just upheld the one in Arizona. They're not going to use the same machines that they used in 2020. I think the left knows that they can't win. In 2022, they're going to lose. And I think if Trump runs again, I don't see him losing in 2024, just because the Democratic Party and Joe Biden are being exposed for exactly what they are. The reason why Kamala didn't go to the border, the reason why is because they don't have solutions. That's just the reason why. They don't have the solutions to fix the problems. They removed the policy to remain in Mexico, and that just flocked everybody here. Because obviously, if you're gonna be apprehended and you're gonna stay in the States, they're not gonna show up to their court case. And we talked a little bit about this on the podcast, which this one comes out tomorrow with Jorge Ventura, and he talks about how this is crazy. The smugglers, the cartels, you know how much they make on smuggling people? $14 million per day. They're making $14 million per day. It's a full-on economic business happening at the border. So, I mean, if you are the cartels, of course, we're going to keep doing it. If we're going to be welcomed and we have a free pass to bring people here, and as long as we get them to the border, they're going to stay on the American side, of course it's going to happen. And the reason why, which is what Alex was saying earlier, Alex was saying they want this for votes. This is the exact reason. They have an Amazon, human body Amazon going right now. They put bracelets on them, letting them know what with certain colors, where they're going to go, how they're going to be delivered, everything. If they can't pay the fee up front, I mean, this is all coming from Jorge, who's at the border right now. They can't pay up front. They have to be basically a slave, because they have businesses they have to work for free when they get here in the States. I mean, this is what is going on. Alex, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, too many. We'll be here all. It's disturbing is what it is. When it comes to the southern border, when it comes to what we're seeing, when it comes to immigration, illegal immigration, this really shouldn't be a political issue. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be made to be, well, the left is better at handling it or the right is better at handling it. And I know I say all the time that the right is better at handling it, because we've seen that, that policies on the right have obviously controlled illegal immigration. And when I was down at the border and I was talking to Border Patrol, they were saying that a wall helps them. A wall helps them because it basically slows down the illegal immigration. If you don't have a wall, they're just going to come right in. So when you have these gaps in the wall, the immigrants are like, oh yeah, you know what? Why are we going to try and climb the wall when we can just walk right through? And that's what it is. And what's also crazy too is that we're seeing, this is crazy, because when I was down at the border and we saw and I think I told you this too, Jordan, we saw a makeshift ladder, but it was only 8 feet tall, and the border's double in size. So it's they're climbing over this, they're trying to get over the wall. Most of the time you can't, but in the off chance that they do get over the wall, because a lot of it is younger adults, teenage boys, men that are more physically fit to climb, when they try and get over their wall, they're going to fall down with this big drop, and they're going to injure themselves. They're going to break their back, their leg, their arm, their ankle, whatever it is. And that takes resources away from the Border Patrol agents that are monitoring that area of the border. And then it has to take a Border Patrol to go and bring them to the hospital or bring them to the doctors. And that's one less Border Patrol agent that is patrolling the area. And I think this is what's so insane is that we have an influx coming through. We have an influx. There's no denying that. And these policies that
180,000 people were apprehended in the month of May.
Too many. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. And this is not, this isn't me saying I don't want people to come into America. My own father is an immigrant. You know what I mean? I can't sit here and say I hate immigrants when my own damn father's an immigrant. I obviously don't hate immigrants. I think immigrants do a lot for this country. I think they're a great part of society, but the ones that come through legally. So it's just really frustrating when you have an administration that is doing these things on purpose. They're not doing it by accident. They're not just, not paying attention to it because, they have better things to do. Oh, climate change is a bigger threat. Oh, white supremacy is a bigger threat. No, they're doing it because they don't care and they want to see this happen. So I could sit here and talk about it all night long, but I feel eventually I'm just going to start to get repetitive because they're not doing anything. Nothing is progressing. Nothing is changing. Things are changing for the worse. Things are only getting worse. And when you have independent journalists like Jorge going down there, when you have former presidents like President Trump going down there, when you have politicians, most of them being Republican, when you have regular citizens like myself going down to the border and paying attention to what's actually going on there, talking to the Border Patrol agents that are working this crisis, that are having to deal with all of these things every single day, when you talk to the homeowners and the business owners that are being affected by the cartel, by the MS-13 gang, by the criminals that are coming across the border. When you're talking to people that are having to deal with this, when you are seeing the wristbands on the ground, when you're seeing the baby shoes on the side of the river, when you're seeing the clothes and the water gallons and the rafts and the dirty clothes that people leave behind, or maybe it's left behind because it's a bad situation that I don't want to say the word because it's just too disgusting to think about. When you're actually going down there and you're actually seeing this all for yourself with your own eyes and not in the comfort of your own living room or the White House or your own little mansion or your nice car or your DC, when you're not in DC, step out of DC. Step out of DC, get out of your damn echo chamber, get on a damn plane, and go to the actual physical border, see the actual wall that President Trump built, and that has helped illegal immigration. But when you're not doing that, like I said before, you are complicit in one of the largest human trafficking operations, and you do not get an applause for that.
Woo! Alex, I wish we could have just take that.
This pisses me off. It just pisses me off.
I'm with you. It is sad because we're talking. I mean, they are the left. I mean, this is not a border crisis. This is a humanitarian crisis right now that's happening right now. We have children, moms that are being trafficked. And again, like the left we know what they say. They say that they're for social justice and people, but again, they don't. I wish they would really go to the border. And there is a reason why Kamala went. Where'd she go? She went to El Paso. Is that where she went? Like, didn't even go. Go ahead, Joe.
Crazy, man. I mean, you got to really understand, right? Like, look, this is not a left or right issue. I often say, look, politics is a dirty business. President Trump was elected by a Trump coalition and then to drain the swamp. And the problem was that when you get to DC, you have to hire a lot of people and they'll convince you that the only swamp creature is on the other side of the aisle. That's what happened. If you're talking about what was the anchor on America first, it was the fact that we had people who came out of the swamp who tried to convince people that everyone else was a swamp creature and they were the good guys. So I think on some basic level, that is the issue we're dealing with. And so when we deal with something like the border issue is not partisan, right? The humanitarian crisis, there are 3 times as many children in cages wrapped in tinfoil, like the Tin Man today, as there were when Trump was president of the United States and AOC and the squad were weeping at the gate. Like that's not hyperbole. That's not a Republican talking point. That's actually the truth. So if you care about that issue, you should be more outraged today than you were 4 years ago. And yet, issue by issue, time after time, we see that is not the case. And so it starts to become apparent it wasn't about the kids. It starts to become apparent it was never America. It's about power, right? And so when you look at what's happened right now, we need to start forming a new coalition of Americans who recognize the fact that, as we saw yesterday with Bill Cosby, money in America is undefeated. We say the internet is undefeated. No, honey, it is money. Money is undefeated in America. It is big money. It is big business. And they spend a lot of time undermining real grassroots efforts to make sure that the lives of everyday Americans get better. And when we can start taking that message to the people, yes, we need tax cuts. Yes, we know what policies work. But there is a love language disconnect in our politics. Just, Jordan, we've talked about it before. Like, people need to hear the truth different ways because people respond to messaging in different ways. And so that's what really, to me, is the real thing we need to focus on, whether we're talking about the border, whether we're talking about the fact that Russia is literally a threat to humanity, whether we're talking about the fact that China's trying to run the world. You want to talk about Bitcoin? Why did Bitcoin fall? People are like, oh, it's Elon Musk. It ain't Elon Musk. It's the fact that China put on the scale with Alibaba, put the thumb on the scale with Facebook, put the thumb on the scale with all these digital platforms, WeChat, and said, hey, we are going to start looking at you for crypto activity. Translation: China is the only major country on the planet that has a digital version of their actual currency, the digital yuan. They're the only one. America doesn't have it. British, they don't have it. India doesn't have it. Australia doesn't have it. Japan doesn't have it. China is the
where do you think where do you think this goes? I mean, you think China, what is China's end goal here?
The march to run the 21st century and be the leader of the free world, or to be the leader of the world because China ain't free. That's what's happening right now. And we have an administration that says, oh, it's healthy competition. It's not healthy competition when they've got people locked away in the mountains being exterminated at night and sewing shoes together in the daytime. It is the largest actual concentration of an ethnic minority group in isolation since the Holocaust. That is what's happening. And the president of these United States, Joe Biden, said it was a cultural norm. That's what he said at a town hall on CNN, and nobody wants to talk about it. So let's just be very clear about what's happening here. We just have to have standards that exist for America. Journalistic standards, moral standards for our foreign policy, whatever it's going to be. If you're going to tell me that I can't say that Dr. Seuss was canceled because that is missing context and as such has to be removed or I'll be demonetized, okay, I think that's a terrible way to run the world, but then don't say that AOC gets to get on national television and say that Ted Cruz tried to have her murdered, because I can recognize that as hyperbole, but guess what? Ted Cruz didn't actually try to have you murdered. So if you can make that statement, surely we can say that Dr. Seuss has been canceled by cancel culture, but they don't want to have a semblance of routine commonality for all the people. It's rules for thee and not for me.
It's a clown world.
In all things, but it manifests itself in the most important things. And that is why it's not, as much as people say it's silly to focus on the Dr. Seuss, you have to focus on everything, because they take this small little nugget and then they amplify it to impact all of our freedoms, all of our liberties, which is why they can get on TV and talk about a Delta variant with such absolute terms when we know concretely we have yet to find out what the actual impact is as it relates to the various vaccines, what the impact is as it relates to our kids. And what we do know concretely is that I don't care who you are, but if it's 105 degrees outside having kids on a playground with masks on is probably a bad idea.
It's all bad. We are living in a clown world. And to what you're saying, Joe, is very true, because we have to have these conversations, because then what ends up happening is we start having, we are getting people to hate our country and hate our history. And really, what's interesting is the history that the Democrats continue to attack and try to erase is their own damn history. They are the party that wanted slavery. Everything that they try to, like, our history is horrible, and what we did to this group of people, and when we did this 100 years ago. And it's like, yeah, you guys did that. Literally, it was your party that did that. And now we're at a point where now our own Olympians we're not even talking about standing for the flag. Now we're at the point where they're turning away. They're saying, I don't even want to look at this. She was offended that they played the national anthem. Thankfully she came in third place. That's the one thing I was like, okay, I'm glad she came in third. If she was in first, I would have sucked. Alex, you had a rant on this, on the Olympian athlete, which I saw your facial expression. Our Wi-Fi keeps going in and out. And Joe, just to let you know, when you talk, if someone else is talking, if for some reason it's canceling your voice out. So if we're talking over you, that's the only reason why. Alex, I just want to let you know. Alex, what's your thoughts?
Okay, well, listen, before anyone comes at my throat, I understand her First Amendment right. I understand her freedom of speech. I understand her right to protest. Doesn't mean I agree. Doesn't mean I think that she did it in a right way. When you are representing America in the Olympics, you should be damn proud to represent America in the Olympics. The Olympics were created to unite nations. They weren't created to focus on specific individual people and to make it all about yourself. Obviously, you're competing and you can compete as an individual, obviously, but the Olympics themselves, they just see countries, they see nations competing. That's what it is. And listen, I give her credit no matter what. She's, talented. I'm not at the Olympics, so I can't sit here and I give her credit that she's even made it that she's going to the Olympics. But you should be damn proud that you're going and that you're going representing America, because otherwise, then why are you going? If you see, here's the thing and actually I have a longer version of this rant coming out on Right Side Broadcasting tomorrow morning. But basically, if you really wanted to use your voice, if you really wanted to protest, then you should have made a public statement saying that you don't you don't want to represent this country, and you don't respect this country, and you don't like what this country represents, and you will not be attending the Olympics at this time. That's how you should have gone about it if you really wanted to protest, if you really wanted to use your voice, if you really truly do not like what this country is representing, if you really do not like what this flag represents, if you really do not want to be a face for America, or if you don't want to represent America, then you should not have even attended. Because I feel like it should be a requirement to be proud to represent America in order to represent America. I just feel like that's what it is. You live in a country that is affording you these opportunities. Obviously not without your hard work and talent. I'm not going to take that credit away from her. But she lives in a country where she's able to work hard and achieve success. And she's going to the freaking Olympics. And you're still able to stand on that podium and use your freedom of speech, use your rights, use your right to protest, and disrespect the country that you are going to the Olympics and representing. You try that in North Korea. I dare you. I dare you to do that.
Yeah, she can try it. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, but literally though, this is what gets me so baffled, is that there's so many people that complain all the time about how this is a horrible country and they're so oppressed in this country. But if they lived in other countries, they would really know what oppression's like. You are not oppressed. If you're going to the freaking Olympics, you are privileged. If you're going to the Olympics, You were not oppressed. Systemic racism wouldn't have allowed you to get that close to the podium, girlfriend. Come on. Like,
come on, no, you're
talent. Obviously, you know how to work hard, and I give you credit for being able to get to that point and that you're going to the Olympics. But please, for the love of God, show some respect to the country that is affording you such opportunities.
So it's perfectly said, Alex. The thing where I want to point, Joe, and what I want to know is, how did we get here? Because I just saw a picture from her. I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and she's holding the flag up. I don't know if you saw this picture. I mean, we're talking a couple of years ago. She's standing there with, she won some award. She's holding the flag up. Something happened in the last 3 years where a couple of years.
Clear.
Go for it.
We know what happened, brother, right? We have, I've decided that, the Bible is clearly knows more than we ever thought it did know, because we have BC, which is before Christ. We have AD, which is not Anno Domini, it is after Donald, right? And that has happened, right? We have before Christ and after Donald. And after Donald, the whole world has become a whole new place. Before Donald, you could hold up the American flag and love your country. After Donald, you have to hold up a T-shirt that says activist athlete. I don't even know what the hell. What are you an activist for? What is the cause that you're fighting for? Are you against the anthem? Are you against the country? You got on TV. You didn't seem to actually be clear yourself. So let's be very clear. The vast majority of athletes that are representing these United States of America who are Black recognize the fact that there were problems in the founding of this nation that stripped people that looked like me of our identity, stripped us of our X-Men origin story, deprived us of dignity, deprived us of our rights as human beings, as fully bona fide Americans. And yet the majority of the people that look like me who will be going to the Olympics will gladly stand for the anthem, because they recognize that the arc, the pathway, the growth that is possible in America, in many nations around this globe, it is not possible. That you can't actually have the freedom to stand and turn your back on your nation, to show up your teammates that you train with, that you work with, for the privilege of going to the Olympics to represent this country. So, look, I think we can have two conversations at the same time. We should be able to talk about the fact that there are many Americans that remain locked out of the American dream, and also recognize the fact that just because you have the right to turn your back on our flag, to try to talk about our anthem as racist, even though even people who are liberal and historians have debunked the fact that the anthem is racist, if for no other reason we don't even sing the second verse, much less the third verse of the song, it becomes a very crazy situation. So look, I'll just say this. We as a people have to find a way to talk about issues that bring people in and don't push people away. And when you find yourself protesting in a manner that alienates the people that actually agree with you on the substance of what you're protesting on, perhaps your form of protest is misguided, right? And so I think for me, when I look at the conservative movement, I think I see a lot of people outraged by it. And look, to be clear, you should be outraged by it. We're getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July, our celebration of independence, when we as a nation stood there and has said, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, right? And recognize we have now a federal holiday for Juneteenth, whether you hate it, love how it happened, weaponize it. Juneteenth to me is a quintessential American holiday, because it shows that even though we have the fallacy of humanity, even though we have all of these failures, we literally as a nation sent men on horseback to take a message to the people that hadn't gotten the message, that we had begun this long walk to freedom, that we had began this long walk to a more perfect union. Like Paul Revere saying the British are coming, we sent men on a horseback to go to Texas to say that freedom is finally here. That is who we are as a people. We shouldn't run from that. We shouldn't weaponize that. We shouldn't politicize that. We should celebrate that. And similarly on the 4th, we should be able to have a conversation about saying that, look, we're not perfect. No nation is perfect. But in these United States, even the imperfect people that founded this nation understood that the best America was embedded within the spirit of who we are as a people, and we didn't just believe it, we put it on paper to make it so. And
That's perfectly said.
To keep moving towards this more perfect union. And if you want to represent this country and somehow you're so blinded by the bad that you're oblivious to the good, then I don't think you're in a position to even have a real conversation about what's required to achieve the best version of the America that most people pray for will actually achieve.
Mm-hmm. No, that's perfectly said. I mean, you guys said it perfect. So, all right, we got about 5 minutes left. Man, an hour went by quick. Let's end this with final thoughts, especially what are you guys doing for 4th of July on a less sensitive, important matter? Because, man, I look at the news and it's just exhausting. I just get exhausted, especially right now because you see no action being taken place by the Biden administration. You know what you said, Joe. You have the Biden admin focusing on white supremacy and white domestic terrorists when, again, it's like the least thing of our worries. I mean, but with all that being said, Alex, let's go with you. I want your final thoughts because we got about 5 minutes left. And then what are you doing for the 4th of July? Give us some good news. Give us a smile.
Okay, well, I think my final thoughts, I'll put them final thoughts for the Olympic athlete. I'm just going to say one last thing, short and sweet. If you feel like the flag is disrespectful, if you don't want to represent the flag, then you should remove yourself from a position of having to represent it. That's it, short and sweet. Good advice. Hopefully she'll listen to it. And oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the word?
What are you doing for 4th of July?
Some plans.
Oh, plans.
Jeez Louise. No, I don't know. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but it's kind of hot here in Virginia. And I think we're just gonna chill. And on Sunday for the 4th of July, we are going to go to the military base. The one that the Arlington Cemetery is at, I think, the military base or the I don't know. There's like a hill somewhere near the military base, and we're gonna watch the fireworks that they do on the National Mall. I feel like it'll be too crazy to actually travel into DC, so we're gonna stay away from that situation. Yeah. But I'm excited to see the fireworks because I've never seen the fireworks here in DC for the 4th of July, and I heard they're great. Then again, the president that we have in office, I'm not going to hold my breath because they might not be as exciting if it's representing the administration that we have in office.
It's so true.
But I'm going to try and be positive. So.
I love it. Joe, give us your final thoughts. What are you doing for the 4th?
Final thoughts. You can't save something that you don't love. That the hard truth is that we have to acknowledge the fact that to save America, to improve America, you have to actually love America. And I think that we have a lot of people who have demonstrated with their words, with their deeds, that not only do they not in love America, they want to fundamentally remake America. It is okay to recognize that America is an imperfect nation founded by imperfect people, but we should also to recognize that this is a nation that is actually imbued with the capacity to allow the people of this nation to move ourselves towards the better version of ourselves, to have the ultimate vision of America where all men are truly created equal, in the words of so many people that came before us, that the Martin Luther King Jr., talking about that what the, even so many, even when you talk about America being this better version of itself, right? This people being judged by the context of their character, not the color of their skin. It's not easy. It sounds like lip service, but there is a blueprint, right? I think my monologue last week on Newsmax, I talked about the fact that, look, you can recognize the frustration of people who riot, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, that riots are the language of the unheard. But Martin Luther King Jr. never hurled a brick, and the Southern Christian community, they never endorsed Molotov cocktails. So at some point, we should be able to have a conversation about the fact that, look, we have a blueprint for moving society forward. We understand implicitly that the frustrations of humanity do not actually justify the violence of humanity. And for me, 4th of July is about recognizing the sweet as well as the sour. You can't have the sweet, you can't have the sweet without the sour, and we should be able to engage in dialogue that allows us to become the best version of ourselves, to embrace policies that empower Americans to become the best versions of themselves. And I think that is what's gravely missing in our political conversations these days.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, real quick, guys, I know that we still got some people on here because I'm sure it's probably the connection. Click this button right here, and there'll be a drop-down menu. And make sure you follow Joe, follow Alex. Joe has an awesome show on the weekends, I believe, on Newsmax. And you can follow his content there. Alex, if you don't follow Alex's page, you are missing out. I'm telling you, she gives you her rants. She has the best 1-minute videos on Instagram, hands down. No one can touch her. So make sure you follow Alex, and we'll be back. It's the weekend for the 4th of July. I'm going to the Trump rally on Saturday in Sarasota. I'm really excited about that.
Match. We got 5 hours of fun, man. I'm 1 to 3 and then 5 until whenever the heck it's done. So it's a whole Joe Pinion telethon Newsmax, man. It's gonna be a whole Jerry Lewis's kids, man. Call in.
I love it. I love it. So all right, well, guys, thank you so much, and we will talk to you guys later.
All right, guys, appreciate you.